Welcome to Tripping Over Love, where we talk all about breakdowns, breakups, and breakthroughs. I'm Courtney Corona with Keith Miller.
Hey.
Hi. We just had a good conversation with Tammy Nelson.
It was so good. She's one of my favorite people to talk to.
I can see why. Yeah. She talked a lot about, actually, I'll let you do it because you've interviewed her before on Soul of Life. Yeah, this was the first time I met her.
Yeah, I've met her a few times. She's through her Institute for Sex Therapy for training for therapists. So she's a sex therapist. She's a well-known author. She wrote a book, I think, in 2008 called Getting the Sex You Want. That was like the big book. And then she's written one on open monogamy and the new monogamy. And so these books, she's done a lot of writing now. As she'll explain, she's talking about like training writers. It's really cool. She just covers so much ground, but is so sex positive. And we use that term in therapy a lot, meaning there's no shame about sex, right? That's the utopian view of like how nice it would be to have no shame. We can just talk about anything. She's one of those people, and I think our listeners will get the sense of that.
Yeah, and I actually I won't share what she said, but she had some comments on menopause and perimenopause, and if anybody who's listening is a woman in like the 30, 40-year-old range, they're probably used to the many ads we get all the time. So it was a refreshing perspective from her. So I think people will appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I'm excited that we talked a lot about psychedelics, which is something in medicine and psychiatry that we have a lot in common. So it's really cool to hear how she's using that even for like writers and couples. And it's something I'm familiar with. So
yeah, we both are.
Yeah. That's just such a big topic, and one that I think if you're a couple thinking about therapy or struggling right now, to be able to consider some options like that and just educate yourself about what's out there. This is the time to do it.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why we did this podcast overall, because psychedelics were so important to us to be able to open up.
And they're so misunderstood. So
right.
all those things that we want to highlight and
all the things,
my love.
All right, here's Tammy.
So hey Tammy, welcome to Tripping Over Love. So good to see you again.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm glad that you're doing this. It's kind of exciting.
It is exciting. Yeah, we're excited to get started with this, and you're one of my favorite people to talk to. We talked a few years ago. You've done so much work. Your career has been spent focusing on couples like mine, but you've really, it's kind of skyrocketed, in my opinion, like to this place where since you're doing the institute that you started, I want to hear how that's going and kind of what you're up to lately.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, I am doing a lot of couples retreats and intensives. I'm doing couples and ketamine retreats and writers retreats. So if anybody out there wants to write a book, I find that we need a lot more diversity in the world of relationology, like relationships in general is where we need to put our focus. And I just think we don't have enough voices. So I know for me, even though I've written a lot, it's hard to find the space and the sort of the sacredness of the space to write. As much as I say I write a lot, I want to be writing other things. So I write around the things that I'm trying to write. And I think we need more writing about relationships. So I see couples and pods of polyamorous people and individuals to really focus on healing relationships and the trauma of being in relationships in the world right now.
With the breadth of books that are out there now, what topics and issues do you think are missing?
I think it's just the diversity of backgrounds and experience and the different lanes that people are in. So if you have experience in your own life, like you want to write sort of a memoirish book about what your life has been like, nobody else is going to say it the way you say it. So I find that people, therapists, non-therapists, everyone has this initial response to that, which is, oh, there's a million books out there like that. Or who's going to want to hear that? Well, everyone's got such a unique voice. We need to hear more from LGBTQIA plus people. We need to hear more from people of color, people who feel like they've been they haven't had their voices amplified out in the world around relationship work, regardless of what kind of work it is. And also anyone who is working around pleasure. And our culture has been so shaming and guilt-ridden around just the idea of pleasure. I mean, that's kind of where my focus has been, and I would love to support other people doing that work in the world as well.
So cool that you're putting it together with ketamine. I'm very familiar with ketamine, having founded and been running a ketamine-assisted therapy clinic for treatment of depression. That's the most well-known use of it. We've also done it in educational settings for clinicians to teach them how to use it. Mm-hmm. So I'm really curious. Maybe I'll sign up for your ketamine retreat with writers. How do you use it? What does it do, and how does it work?
Well, I love that you're doing that work, and I love that you've been sort of on the front lines and the cutting edge of doing the work, because, I mean, I'll be honest, I did my MDMA training with MAPS, and then the MDMA world went back to the FDA trial, so that's not legal. So then I did my ketamine training with Polaris in San Francisco or Berkeley. And the first time I did it in my training, I came out of it and thought, oh my God, we're giving this to patients? Like, we're really doing this with people? I was kind of like, wow, this is my second adolescence.
Go into that a little bit more. I'm curious, like, what sparked that? What did you hear that made you think, oh my gosh?
Well, I thought it was a really intense psychedelic experience. And I did psychedelics in my adolescence in a much different setting. And although it was enlightening and an important experience, there was no integration. There was no therapy. There was no one to help me make sense of it. And frankly, it was kind of scary, the settings that I was in. You know, as a teenager, alone in the woods, and all my friends went home. You know, it wasn't good.
My gosh.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got the chills.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Worst case scenario.
I did learn a lot. And now, only now, all these years later, like 40 years later, or 50 years later, I should be honest, it makes sense what happened then, like the experiences that I had then. So it's really about being able to talk about it with someone and integrate the experiences where I think it applied to my actual life. So today, doing it in a therapeutic setting, you get that integration right away. Like, you get to talk to people like, this is what just happened. This is what I just thought. I really see it as dream work. You know, one of my master's degrees is in art therapy, and so I did this Jungian art therapy, creative imagery kind of work, and it's very similar to dream work. It's similar to psychedelics too. It's like how you interpret your own imagery just gets you so deep into your own narrative and your own brain, and that narrative, I feel like, gets you there much quicker than standard psychoanalysis. But it can also be a very fast and intense journey. And so when I came out of it, I was like, wow, we're doing this therapeutically. We have come a long way from, it's like the marijuana world when you used to clean sticks and stems on an album cover in the 70s. And now there's 3 million types of medical marijuana. All those kids grew up and became scientists. And today, psychedelics is now science, the science of therapy, the science of healing from depression and anxiety. And I hope that we can apply this in a relational way. Like, that's how I feel like it could be used therapeutically.
What are some of the most fascinating experiences you've seen with couples when you do the ketamine workshops with couples? I was talking to a friend the other day who was actually looking into it and was thinking about it with his girlfriend and was nervous about, oh gosh, what would come up. So, and I'm sure you deal with that a lot, right? What is it like?
Well, sure. I mean, I think you should be nervous because I think it shows an element of caution and respect, and that it's not just let's dive in recreationally. I love that people are respectful of the experience, because whether you've done it 100 times or never, it is like a humbling portal, if you will, to a different dimension. And so we should be treating it as like a sacred journey. And it's something with couples that you can do together, but you are experiencing it sort of in a parallel way. So ketamine, as you know, is sort of dose related. So you can do it in a psycholytic way.
Which is just enough to relieve anxiety.
Thank you. And it's a really powerful way to be in your body in a maybe in a relaxed way that you normally don't experience.
Right.
And being in that way with your partner can be like, oh, my nervous system can finally relax, maybe for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing to share with your partner. At higher doses, when it's more psychedelic, you kind of have a parallel journey, and you come out and talk to your partner about an intention that you had, not only for yourself, for the experience, but for your relationship. And my personal experience is that it kind of shakes everything up in your brain and puts it back in a different place where you end up having more insight, and you go, oh, now I get why this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so useful to have because it's short acting. It's basically you metabolize it in about an hour, and you can sit around and talk about it. So I know MDMA you mentioned is probably the drug of choice, the medicine of choice for couples therapists. But it does take longer. It's a little more user intensive, right? So ketamine is probably going to always have a place for that.
I agree.
I know for me, ketamine, I was sharing with you before we started, ketamine helped me. I think of it, having watched so many people go through it, it reveals things. Like you said, it's nothing to be afraid of. It's just like therapy reveals things, talking and going through the layers. Things become more clear and things pop up. And that's exactly what happened for me. It became clearer where I was and who I was and kind of what changes I needed to make, which led to some big behavioral changes for me, which were not easy. It's not pain-free. I think people think sometimes ketamine is going to take away your pain. And in my opinion, it helps you go through it and have more choice.
I like that. Yeah.
I'm curious, when I was listening back to our episode we did on the soul of life, which was a great one. We talked more about monogamy in that episode, and I know you talk about monogamy and non-monogamy, open relationships, polyamory. I don't think I even brought it up back then. I have to say, like, as a person who was married for 24 years, I remember being at one of your trainings, which are amazing, by the way. People should look into the trainings if they want to get some training in sex therapy. And I just remember feeling so triggered at the time. And it wasn't because of anything you or anyone was doing. It was just because I was in a place where I couldn't really, the couples I was working with, I projected onto them that they wouldn't be open to non-monogamy or, more choice as far as boundaries in the relationship. And it certainly would have been very painful for me at my point in life. Now, having gone through a divorce and having dated and found someone who's really amazing, it's opened my eyes to a lot more. So what are you talking about more these days?
Well, when it comes to monogamy, I'm really talking about an open form of commitment that could be, it's on a continuum. So it can be just a discussion around what is traditional closed monogamy. What does that agreement really look like? Because we're at a time where you can cheat on your partner lying in bed next to them. I mean, a lot of them, the so-called pretend monogamy out there, people are cheating on each other, but they're, and to the world, we're monogamous. And so I'm sort of trying to bust that bubble a little bit by confronting, okay, well, what does monogamy mean to both of you if that's really what you want to show to the world? To live in integrity, not a moral issue, but to live in integrity would mean integrating all of those values and all those parts, all those discussions. So maybe traditional monogamy means to you, and I don't mean you personally, but maybe it means to you that you aren't having sex with anybody else, but maybe it also means that you're not flirting with anybody else. You're not sending messages on Instagram to anyone. You're not putting little hearts on anyone's TikToks. You're not fantasizing about anyone else. You're not thinking about the possibility of talking to someone on Facebook. Like, we have a whole new definition today of traditional monogamy that perhaps your partner might disagree with, or maybe it needs a conversation. So that continuum, might include things like looking at videos together, pornography. Might mean it's okay to flirt with other people. It might mean it's okay to have fantasies that you talk about. But it doesn't necessarily even mean you have to take anything into action. But things can be flexible and fluid. Maybe you want to have sexual experiences with someone else, but only when you're together. And then that can go all the way to wide open polyamory, where you're dating separately or you have other people living with you. Like, who am I to judge or decide? The reality is everyone has a little bit different definition of monogamy today, even though we all think that it's like a one size fits all. It's not binary. It's not, I'm either monogamous or open. There are so many shades of gray in between. And by the way, you're not alone with the ketamine. We face what's already in there in a way that feels a little bit more integrated with who we actually are.
Well, it's really uncovering what's there, right? Mm-hmm. What's deeper. So it's not creating this new version of yourself. It's really bringing truth or acceptance to what is lying probably really deep beneath the subconscious, right?
Yeah. I think it gives more material. It just excavates a lot of material.
Yeah.
Just like therapy. I mean,
just like therapy.
Just
a bit faster. A bit, yeah.
Exactly.
But Tammy, question for you too, when you talk about this continuum of monogamy, I admittedly really did not know monogamy was like the one thing that I knew about until I met Keith, and just, because of his background, right? We had many conversations, and I became open to just a world that I did not know existed. But also one of the things that I've heard a lot too is it evolves over time, right? So while you find yourself in one place or in one moment along that line, that can change too as you move through your relationship, right?
Yeah, I mean, it has developmental phases just like we do. So it might be different, before you have kids, after you have kids, when the kids grow up, when the kids move out, when the kids move back, when the kids, when the kids move away with the grandkids. Like, we are always in development as people, which is why I think we have to re-examine what it means to be in monogamy. And even if we take the word monogamy out and we replace it with commitment or relationship agreement, what we wanted when we got married at 25 is going to be totally different than what we want at 65. And whether you're doing it with the same person, a different person, multiple people, it's kind of like saying, I told you I loved you when I married you, and I'll let you know if I change my mind. Instead of having sort of this perpetual reinforcement conversation. This is how I love you today. Today I love you for this. Today I don't really love you. You're annoying me. It changes over time, right? And I think it's just a flexible and fluid conversation. I mean, we renew our passport. I think you should renew your monogamy agreement.
Totally.
Good way to put it.
Yeah. Are there any topics you teach and have done sex therapy for a long time? Are there topics that some of your students, other therapists bring in that they struggle with, or just in general, the culture as a whole struggles with, that you get tired of having to push that boulder up the hill, whether it's, people's beliefs about pornography or, libido? There's a great, I think you may know Dr. Rachel Rubin. She's a fantastic women's sexual health urologist rock star, right?
That's great.
She just has a megaphone to talk about how little the medical profession generally knows and treats women's sexuality and sexual anatomy, frankly. What are some of the things that you are kind of like, oh, do we have to talk about that again? Or
Well, I do think that menopause is one of the issues that perpetually frustrates me about our culture, because there's this idea that we fall off a cliff and become these non-sexual beings after we stop having our period. Like, it's so interesting. There's a empowerment that happens when you stop having your period. You don't have to worry about getting pregnant, and your hormones begin to shift, and you stop really becoming overly sensitive to what other people think. Women become more orgasmic, easier. They become more communicative. Yes, your hormones change, and now there's a whole new world because of people like Rachel Rubin, Sherry Ross, Kelly Casperson, people who have been talking to the FDA about the safety of hormone replacement therapy. There's been this myth about how it causes cancer, and there's a lot of new research out that, again, has kept women sort of in this place of mythology around what's safe for them, what isn't. And so, the reality is we stay sexual, both men, women, trans folks, well into our 80s, sometimes even into our 90s, because of hormone replacement, because of Viagra, Levitra, Cialis, because of hip replacements and joint replacements, and we're just healthier. And so there's an expectation that we're going to stay sexy longer and in more satisfying sexual experiences. So if you're a heterosexual couple, that might not mean penis and vagina intercourse every time. You sort of learn as you get older, for both men and women, and all orientations, that insertion and orgasm don't necessarily bring the same sexually satisfying experiences that they used to. So all that being my soapbox, maybe it's just because I'm 63, and so I like trying to keep the glow going and convince people, oh no, I'm having the best sex I ever had, and I hope that should continue, barring any unforeseen circumstances.
I hope you're living your best life.
Yeah, well, and that, so coming from, you two are in this world, right? So you have these conversations, but I'm 43, and the conversations now about menopause are, we should be talking about it more, but you still rarely, what you hear is all the negative and sort of what you need to prepare for. But frankly, Tammy, I have not heard anybody, and I consider myself pretty well educated in it, talk about it the way that you just did. Like, there's things that you can look forward to. It's not a death sentence.
Totally. And what's even worse is the perimenopause scare now. So now
oh, yes.
you could be in your 30s and be terrified because it's coming. And all of the symptoms, your exhaustion, perimenopause. Your, lack of sexual desire, perimenopause. Like, now
brain fog.
Brain fog. Now we have everything. Could be post-COVID. It could be you're just tired. It could be you're not attracted to your partner anymore. It could be the actual sex you're having is not very good. Could, there's a lot of reasons you could be going through all that. Life is stressful right now for everyone. And it could be perimenopause.
I love that.
Are you finding people are more open to discussions about kink and just alternative ways to learn, and like through pornography? I grew up in a very religious culture, and so that was, first of all, just never talked about, and it was always in a shame context. Tremendous amount of shame. And I've since learned that there's extremely valuable, like I don't know if the website's still around, I haven't referred to it in a while, but OMG Yes, these people who are filming very educational, very tasteful, very meaningful scenes that are designed to mostly teach, at least they are designed to teach men how to slow down.
Is it education?
It is.
Is that what you would consider?
It is education. I don't think they consider it pornography, but for technical definition, you're watching people have sex without their clothes on. And so, or masturbate, right? And so, yeah, things are changing so much with AI. We don't even know how it's changing what the algorithms are showing people in porn when they're, it's the biggest form of media that people use by statistic. So it's got to be influencing our culture.
I'm just laughing because, AI really, the first influences are the military and pornography, always, for any new technology.
Any new technology.
That's fascinating, really. Oh, fascinating. I
And
knew the military side, not pornography.
it makes sense, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, so pornography really, has it has changed, and we have the access to more technology as far as like teledildonics. In other words, the actual products that you can attach to pornography. So, for long distance or living apart relationships, you have female created products in female created companies where you can attach a vibrator to your computer, and it will interact with the porn or interact with your partner who's at a distance. You can put your partner's face on the porn. You can move the porn scene around so that it looks like you're
Wow.
having sex with them. And then you can put something on your body so it feels like you're having sex with them. I mean, yeah, the sex tech has gotten really, really advanced. And also there's, an increase in feminist porn. So feminist approved porn means that somewhere on it, it will say that it's either created or developed or produced or directed by a woman. Everyone in the film is there consensually, it's not coercive, and they're having real orgasms. They're using lubrication. They're getting a fair wage, or they're volunteering, and many of them are there as real couples. So they're actually having real sex. They're not faking it, and that can be soothing for people watching who are afraid of the coercive aspect of some pornography that can be distasteful. Things like Make Love Not Porn, which is Cindy Gallup's site, or Erica Lust is a producer that does that. The OMGYes is actually an interactive tech site, which I find the technology fascinating, because you can go on the screen, the touch screen, and touch it and learn how to give someone an orgasm, a woman with a female body, like learn how to touch their clitoris, and they'll react. They'll be like, oh, that's so good, a little to the left, go harder.
That's fascinating.
Right.
Fascinating.
Like they interview a series of women and are very inclusive of diversity and style, right? And some women like certain types of motions, and they compared to men, it's pretty straightforward for guys, even though I think guys could use education around it. Opens a whole world when you slow way down and take your time and borrow from some feminist ideas about porn or sexual stimulation. Like they demonstrate, and then they give you like the touch screen to work with.
Wow.
So
they've interviewed thousands of women. I think the first iteration there was 2,000 women, and I don't know about this generation, but they have over 2,000 women showing how they give themselves an orgasm, or being interviewed about how they like to be stimulated to orgasm. And there's a lot of videos of them masturbating, and then they have the interactive piece that you can touch. So I mean, think about that from just a sex ed perspective from young people.
That's what I was just thinking, right? Like,
it's
Totally.
really, really nice.
I think it's
Wow.
brilliant, really. I mean,
Yeah.
we come a long way from, the Playboy magazines underneath the mattress, and my day when people would go out behind the store and read the Playboys that were in the trash.
Yeah. No, and I really hope that there comes a day when I think it is happening, like to your point, like where the consumer appetite for porn is that they want to see real experiences, not acting.
well, and it sounds like with that too, that it's creating a space for communication too, or more of a comfort for communication in your real life, I would imagine, which I think is a tough thing for a lot of people to do as well.
Yeah, I think if you're going to complain about pornography, you should be prepared to offer an alternative.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Open your own production studio. Can we talk a little bit about individual issues versus couple issues? How do you teach a therapist how to differentiate between we should be doing kind of couples work on communication and differentiation versus, we need to work through a protocol sort of like sensate focusing or something?
The work that I'm doing, I really believe, is integrative relationship therapy. Like, I really think that we can integrate all of the techniques that are out there, like IFS and Imago and all of the things that people have learned as tools, so that or that they want to learn as tools, that you can integrate them into your work, because some things work better for others, for certain people. And I want to give people like a toolbox of interventions or skills that they can use. Talking about sex and having a comfort level around sex should be one of them, and it should be just an easily integrated piece of the conversation. Like, if you're going to work with relationships, you need to have a comfort level talking about, or at least asking about, sex. We're not working with roommates necessarily or coworkers, so sex is just a natural part of romantic relationships. And if we don't talk about it or don't bring it up, it's almost colluding with the idea of like, no, we don't talk about sex here. So that's a piece of like learning that comfort zone, which means focusing on the therapist as self, like what is your own bias, your own historical generational trauma around your own sexuality, and doing that work as well. And what are the stereotypes you have around sex that you might be bringing into the office?
That reminds me, Tammy.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the S.A.R experience?
Yeah.
I was trying to describe this to Courtney. I never participated in one. I think it freaked me out at the time. I think I would totally be game for it now. Can you describe what that is?
Yeah, I mean, I think every therapist should go through it. It's the sexual attitude reassessment. It's almost like a sex ed 101, but for grown-ups and for therapists. So it's a way to confront all of your fears and your biases about sexuality and kind of give you the overview of what's out there and let you decide, I want to work with this, I don't want to work with this, I don't ever want to talk about this part. I'm going to refer out if I hear someone say this in my office. And I'm more curious about this around sex. You brought up kink a little bit. You may not ever want to talk about kink or BDSM, but you should know about it if it shows up in your office without standing up screaming and fleeing out of the room. Or more importantly, and probably more regularly happens, is a little bit of like sort of shame or trauma shaming, like,
deer in the headlights.
Yeah, or you might be doing this because you were traumatized as a child, like that.
Oh yeah, gosh,
we get that a lot. So it's just a way of confronting, like, what are my thoughts about people when they bring in their sexual issues, and why am I not talking about sex, and all of the things that just help you to become more comfortable as a human and as a therapist around sex and relationships.
So can you give an example of what one of the, because these are immersive experiences, like what's an example?
Immersive, maybe. I mean, we show videos. Some are more intense than others. And now there's a lot of different topic-related S.A.Rs out there. It used to be that you would meet for a week. Now we do 14 hours live, online. It used to be you had to meet in person. Since the pandemic, everything's changed. And we show videos of, different fetishes and paraphilias. It used to be that we would try really hard to find some things that would shock people, like, oh, you've never seen this before. I'll be totally honest, it's really hard now to find things that shock people. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I've seen that. Like, oh yeah, balloon fetish, I know all about that.
If you've played Cards Against Humanity, you've probably looked up some terms that you didn't understand.
Exactly. That's so true. So, I mean, some of it can be distasteful, but mostly it's, exposure therapy, if you will.
Well, it's been so great talking with you. Are there any things that you're working on right now, Tammy, that you'd like people to hear about, get involved? How can they find you?
I think the last thing is that I think being a psychedelic therapist has taught me that I'm not the privileged therapist with all the answers. And I really have switched the way that I look at treatment, that I believe that everyone has their own inner wisdom and their own sort of guide. So I see myself a little bit more as a guide to accompany you to your healing instead of the person that has all the answers in my bottom drawer. And I feel really strongly about that. And maybe that's why I'm leaning a little bit more into retreats. But I do have a lot of trainings for therapists through the Integrative Sex Therapy Institute, but also pre-recorded courses. You can find my books on my website, drtammynelson.com. You can find out more about retreats and sessions online at my website. And, if people want to contact me, if they've heard me on this podcast, you're welcome to write me and tell me, and I'll send you a free ebook. You mentioned the Sensate Focus. I have that 6-week protocol to erotic recovery. It's sort of like 6 dates that are not focused on, getting to the finish line, sort of a way to reconnect. I'm happy to send that to you for free. But, I'm open to people who want to stay in touch with me, particularly if you're thinking of writing a book. I'm always fascinated by what people are talking about.
It's something on our minds for sure,
Yeah,
and we'll probably be in touch to just compare notes, and it'd be great to collaborate. We're doing some really similar things, and who knows, these medicines are being studied, right down the street in Rockville at a clinic that's doing so many trials, new medicines, 5-MeO, DMT, DMT, I think that we're just going to have so many more tools available to us, and I think we're going to look back at. And I hate to say this because some people might cringe, but because we're doing good work now, and I don't mean to say we're not, but I think we may look back at this time pre-psychedelic therapy as kind of the dark ages, like dentistry without Novocaine.
I did just cringe when
that's
he said
harsh.
that.
I know. I'm so sorry, but I have
The opportunities are massive.
the opportunities are massive, and I do think I'll just ramble on this for a second, but I feel like I'm desensitized, Tammy, to what it feels like for a couple to come into couples therapy, how intense that actually is for them, and to be doing it kind of sober. People should be sober, and we're not trying to change that, but these medicines help people deal with their obsessive thoughts and their compulsions, and then we can do therapy. It's it doesn't take years. Sometimes we can do it in a few weeks. So
I think that we're all drawn to this work as sort of a spiritual calling because the world is so traumatized.
Yeah.
And
I feel that so much. Yeah.
I feel like this is the sort of calling to the hearth of all of us to create one big collaborative community, that because we all need to heal from the trauma that's here and the trauma from the past and the trauma that's coming. And I feel like this could be, I don't think it's an answer, but I do think it's the next phase of our humanity.
Oh, I just got the chills. Yes,
Yeah.
I think so too.
I'm hopeful, and it's even more helpful having someone like you in the world to do this work. So thank you, Tammy.
Thank you. And thank both of you for, activating this and having a voice.
Thanks for listening to Tripping Over Love. Subscribe now to make sure you get the latest episode, and drop us a comment or a question. See you next time.